Spurs. Dominic Solanke has made the move, 65 million quid. With that, do you now expect to see a little bit more movement around Richarlison's future? Do you reckon the PL Premier League sides could even potentially come in and snap him up?
Yeah, possibly. I think either way, if they can get a big fee in, I think the club will accept it. If we're talking 60 million for Saudi or whatever it may be, another Premier League team, I don't think a Premier League team would pay 60 million right enough. But if they get a fee that Daniel Levy thinks that that's meeting his valuation for the player he could possibly go. From the manager's point of view, I think he'd be quite happy keeping Richarlison. It gives you another option. I think Solanke will be your main number 9, your main target. I think he'll score the goals that they need to try and get them back into that top 4. And you've got Richarlison who can play out wide as well and that striker position. So manager wants as many options as possible. But I think it all comes down to, is there going to be a bid big enough that the Daniel Levy would consider?
Yeah. I mean, so Spurs or another club who was interested in Chelsea's Conor Gallagher before the Athletic Madrid move. And seems pretty keen on bringing in a new midfielder. Do you reckon they could potentially swoop in and hijack?
It's probably one I think they'd be monitoring. I think he comes into that team and he probably does start. I mean, Bissouma, I wasn't so sure about last season. I think in flashes he's done really well. We've seen that he is capable, but can you have someone in there that gives you a little bit more? Højbjerg's now left, so there's an option to bring somebody in. So I'm pretty sure they'll be monitoring it and seeing how it's going to play out over the next couple of weeks, because by all accounts, Gallagher might not be in the plans moving forward for Chelsea. So there might be a deal to be had, and that's something that Daniel Levy, I think, would like.
Yeah. I mean, so Chelsea and Spurs do have a bit of a history of not wanting to do with each other. But the Chelsea do seem really quite desperate to get him out of the club. Do you reckon that could potentially boost their chances?
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel that Chelsea need a lot of players out. They've had so many ins that I can't remember. Somebody showed me a picture, I think it was on Instagram or whatever, and it had their team and their whole squad laid out, and it's incredible. Yeah. I don't even know how you manage all that. So I think they will be desperate to offload. I don't like saying fringe players, but it is players that they're probably not going to be using for the season coming up. And unfortunately, Conor Gallagher comes under that bracket. So I reckon there'll be a lot of teams in the Premier League that will be looking at this situation at the moment in time thinking, I think we can get a good deal here.
Yeah. There are one player who could potentially leave. There are quite a few reports in Spain that Real Madrid are interested in Christian Romero. He was a massive player for Spurs last season. I mean, given his importance to Ange's system, how much do you reckon Spurs would ask for Romero?
I think it'd be huge. I mean, you're talking about what Crystal Palace wants 70 million for Mark Gahey. I know he's young and he's had a brilliant Euros and stuff. I really like him as a player. But Romero, look, he can be rash at times. It is what it is. But I think for what he does, his pace, his recovery tackles, all that, he just suits Tottenham. So you're talking about round about that same mark. If they don't hit that, I don't think they'll want to sell. He's such an important player for Tottenham, next to Mickey van de Ven as well. I think they complement each other. So to lose him at this part of this stage, going into the first game of the season, I think would be an absolute nightmare for the manager.
Yeah. Dane Scarlett, he's left Spurs to join Oxford United on loan. He's still very young. But with Mikey Moore and now Dom Solanke at the club, could this potentially be make or break? You know, maybe he's even played his last game for Spurs.
Possibly. You never really like to see it with young players coming through. You always want to see them breaking into the first team and doing well. But he has had opportunities. He's went out on loan. He's had a number of loans now, and then he's going back out on loan this season. He was there for the pre-season. Manager would have had a good look at him and then made his decision. So, look, you're out in the shop window as a young guy. You go out on loan. You want to be scoring goals. You want to be hitting the headlines and having people watching you and look at you for your future kind of development or wherever it may be. You just feel that maybe at Tottenham at this moment in time, it's not going to quite click. They've spent a lot of money, as we know, in Solanke, but you just feel with another loan that he could possibly be moving on.
Yeah. Emerson Royal he's finally moved to AC Milan. Do you expect Spurs to try and potentially bring in a new right back. They do kind of only have Jed Spence and Pedro Porro there. Jed Spence hasn't really kicked on as they'd have expected.
Yeah, well, Porro is your number one fullback. I've always liked Jed Spence. I mean, I don't know why it didn't quite work out when he made his move from Forest. I thought he was really attacking. I know the fullbacks have to do different jobs under Ange Postecoglou, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I've never seen Emerson Royale, to be fair, being a regular starter. I think going forward, yes, okay, defensively, I wasn't kind of convinced with him. They might look to bring somebody in. I know there's been rumours about Walker Peters possibly coming back. Competition there as well. He knows the club, he knows the team. It could be something that could possibly happen, but they're probably looking. But at this moment in time, I think with Porro, Spence still there, unless he was to leave, then they'll need to bring somebody in.
Yeah. Fabrizio Romano has revealed that Lo Celso has been told he can leave Spurs. He did join for a pretty big fee, 55 million quid. Can you see Levy taking a major loss just to get him off the books?
I think he'll have to. I mean, he's been there for a number of years now. It's not worked for him. He's had some loans. Don't get me wrong, he's came in at certain games. I think Ange brought him back in and played him a few games, and he looked decent in certain matches. But I don't see him being there for the foreseeable. I think you're getting to that stage where you're not going to recoup your money. You're probably going to have to kind of cut your losses and try and move them on. I think that's what they will be trying to do, because if they get a half decent fee, then they can maybe reinvest it back into the midfield, but they're definitely not getting that money.
Yeah. I mean, Spurs are on pretty high alert for Lille forward Jonathan David. Apparently they've cut down their asking price to about 25 million quid. They've just signed Solanke, but do you reckon David could be signed as a partner or maybe just competition?
Yeah, possibly both. I mean, I seen him playing a couple of times against Aston Villa last season. There was a lot of hype around him. I think the game at Villa Park, I don't know if it was the atmosphere or whatever, or the hype that was surrounding the game, that he didn't quite get to the heights that he'd shown in his league campaign. But there's definitely ability there. He's got pace. He loves running in behind. He's physically well built. He could deal with the Premier League. So I think it's something, if they could get a kind of cut down price, then they might look at. And he looks kind of versatile. It looks like he could probably play in one or two different positions, which Ange might like as well. So it'll be interesting. I think there's definitely potential there with him.
Yeah.